Hi and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you how I prepare a very popular meal that's done here in Quebec and throughout the Maritimes. It's called Cipaille Pot Pie, or the English version is Cipaille, also known as pot on pot throughout the Maritimes and Cipates in the Quebec region. But basically, they're all the same thing. And if you check on the internet, there's many ways of making this meal. Today, I'm going to be showing you my method, and this is a classic of the holiday and winter season for family gatherings. It's very popular in the Madawaska, New Brunswick region, as well as the Gaspésie area here in Quebec. It is a true comfort food that can be enjoyed, though, any time of the year. So without further ado, let's get started by cutting up the meats. Okay, so let's start by cutting up this beautiful piece of pork tenderloin. And unfortunately, this is all I have. It's 250 grams. And I'm going to be cutting it up into nice chunks, little chunks or bite-sized pieces, and one like this. Keep this as simple as possible. So the recipe calls for 900 grams. So if you have a large roaster, then I would certainly double what I'm doing here today. But I think 250 is going to be fine. And I might go extra on the stewing beef instead. And but I'm not too worried. So let me put this aside in another bowl here. And then let's cut up the other meat. So what I got on here is my little setup is a scale that I've zeroed out the holding bowl with, and now we're at 0, and I'm just going to be adding the cut up beef until I reach around 500 grams. That's what I'm going for my little recipe. And so I'm not going to be like, there's very little fat on this stewing beef, and yeah, so there's some nice marbling going on here and very little fat. And after the long cooking process, and we'll talk a bit about that later on, but just, keep it simple. So we're at 168 grams. Oops, butterfingers. And 200. See, I like small pieces. I don't know about you guys out there. Maybe you're used to bigger cubes, but even this, to me, that's too much, too big. And yeah, that's my approach. But you know what? This recipe is only a guideline to give you a general idea how you should be doing it. So let's grab a few more, and we're now up to almost 400 grams, and 395, 424 grams, and I still have some left. I'm thinking this is going to be enough because I'm only using this small roaster. And I think this is going to be enough. Last but not least is my skinless, boneless chicken breast. And the only thing I'm going to do is trim off a bit of this fat here. Like, I don't want that going into my pot pie. So I'm going to cube this about this size. That's like an inch long or so. Let me zero out my scale. Pop that into that steel ball. See, they're like, what's that, like an inch or so? So I'm going to trim off this fat here. And the rest looks pretty darn good. There's no bones in it, there's no skin, and it will be excellent. So let's just check this out. There's a bit of fat here. I'm going to leave that in the true spirit of the recipe, and that's your call. If you want to trim off everything, go ahead. But I certainly would recommend the skin off. And as I'm putting this beautiful pot pie together, you'll see why. So, like, this is taking no time at all. The longest part in preparing this is when I'm cooking it tomorrow. Will take about, I think it's 5 or 6 hours. So I'm going to be starting this pot pie really early tomorrow. It's going to sit in the fridge to marinate with all the spices, which I'm going to show you in the next step, overnight. And we're at 408. And let's get this off. So that's what I got. So here's the pork and the beef, and I'm going to mix that all in just like that. So yeah, so let's go on to the next step. So in my recipe, I'm going to be adding 2 medium-sized yellow onions, but if you like and prefer red onions, go ahead and add that. So I prefer to do this in rather large chunks, and not worry about dimensions too much, and get that all mixed in. Nice little cubes. Do the other one. It's really slipping around. I don't know what's going on here. So let's get this into a separate bowl, because to mix all this up properly, I'm going to need a much larger bowl to get this all mixed in by hand and incorporated. So let me cut this up and we'll be back in a second. So now let's cut up 3 stalks of celery and get that mixed up. These are good size, like 1-inch cubes or so, and not fussing around, fooling around here. Let's just get this cut up, add the spices, put it in the fridge so it can marinate, and that is it. Okay, celery is done. Okay, the last ingredient is I'm using 5 cloves of garlic, and while it isn't a ingredient on the traditional recipe here in Quebec, and I don't think the Maritimes, but I like garlic, and I think the garlic and the onion is going to make a real nice flavor. So I'm adding it. It's my recipe, it's my house, and I'm doing it my way. So if you don't like garlic, don't add it. That's it. You love garlic, add some more. And there you have it. So let's go on to the next step. So let's add in the 3 meats to my super large bowl. I'm going to add in the vegetables, onion, celery, and garlic. So the first thing I'm adding in, which is really traditional, is savory. And has a really nice smell to it. And I'm just going to sprinkle that in all around. And then the next thing, so that's 1 teaspoon of savory, 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm using sea salt in this recipe. You could use table salt. And we're going to be using a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And the last ingredient, which is not traditional and it's not required, it's optional, is my favorite, Montreal steak spice. This stuff is amazing. And because of the beef in here, I'm going to be adding in 1 full tablespoon of steak spice. And it's optional. If you don't like it, don't add it. So now let's just get in there and mix everything up. And that should be about it. So what I'm planning is I have a container here that's this size, and I think that should more than do. So let me just pack it in here, see if it fits. If not, I gotta go get another plastic container. But I think we're going to be good. It'll be nicely packed in. And let me switch this out, put this here, and just shovel this into my plastic container. And I'm telling you, by tomorrow, the meat is going to be so beautifully coated with all the onions and garlic and the spices. It's going to be beautiful. So no need to overwork this. That's it. So the hard part of this recipe, it's done. And so in the fridge it goes, and we'll pick this up tomorrow morning. Okay, it is day 2, and that means it's time to make some pierogi dough. And I'm using pierogi dough instead of the traditional pie crust because that's the way I was taught. And the pierogi dough, trust me, it is delicious. So I'm going to make the pierogi dough to line my casserole and then make 2 layers of the meat. And so let's get started. First of all, we have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. So to the 2 cups of flour, I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt and just mix it in like this. Mix it together with a fork. Oop, all the salt came out. And then to that, we're going to add the water. And from my experiences, I am not going to add the whole amount of water. I'm going to add a portion of that, like half of the half. And then I'm going to add the room temperature egg. Because I'll tell you why, depending on, believe it or not, the weather, this could affect how the dough is going to come together or not. So, because you don't want a really wet dough to start off with, and then you end up having to use more flour, and it's just a vicious circle. So, looks like we're okay. And now at this point, for this recipe that I have, I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of good old fattening 14% sour cream, and this will make the pierogi nice and tender and easy to work with. So we're going to go with 2 of those, and let's take this out. Mix it all in. You can see the dough is coming together quite nicely, and it's not really sticky, so I always like seeing that. So let's take this out, and I always prefer to use this silicone spatula to work my dough initially anyway. So just keep on working everything together here until everything is mixed in. So after this, it's all mixed. What we're going to be doing is let it rest at room temperature for 15, like 20-30 minutes at room temperature, covered. So I'm going to put a bowl on top of the dough and let it rest, and then once all the glutens and that have come together, it'll be easier to roll out. So okay, let me get it out of there. Use just a bit of flour to flour the surface, and I just want to make this go into a nice ball. And we're almost there. Okay, that's it. That's it. That's all. Can you see that? And now we're going to cover it and let it rest for 20 to 30 minutes. I'm going to get going on the second ball, and we'll be back in a flash. So here's the second batch of dough, and it turned out just like the other one. So I'm just going to roll it out a couple of times, and it's not like a puff pastry. You don't have to get air mixed into the dough. You just want to make sure you incorporate all the ingredients, and it shouldn't be sticking horribly to your hands like this. This is here, this consistency. This is what you want, and I'm going to pick up all the dough pieces here and flour. And now form it into a ball, nice tight ball. And again, I'm going to put this under over a bowl over it for 20-30 minutes. Let it incorporate all the ingredients, and then I'll roll it out. So let's end it there, and see you in a bit. So the dough is completed its resting period of 20 minutes, and it's barely sticky. So by putting down a bit of flour, it's going to help to stop any further sticking. But so far, I like what I see. So keep on flipping it, and we want it to be not too thick and not too thin. And the first layer that I'm going to be making here is the top layer. And then we're going to set that aside, and you'll see why in a second I'm doing the top first and not the in-between layers. Let's just make sure it's not sticking. It is a little bit. That's fine. A bit more flour. So, just a little bit more here. So hopefully you could see that it's not too thick. So I'm going to measure out. This will be the top layer of our cipaille, and so this is why I'm doing this layer first, because obviously if the container was full, the casserole was full, you couldn't do this. So this is just approximately, and then we're going to take this extra dough and mix it in with the other batch. So this, once the casserole is full, this will go on top. So I'm going to put that aside just in front of me here, and I'm going to go get the other ball of dough and start rolling it out, and we're going to put layers of it in the casserole like this. Okay, this is the second ball of pierogi dough that I made, and I already rolled it out. And so now what I'm going to do is cut it into about 1/2-inch sections, and that's going to be layering in the casserole. So plus or minus, I don't know, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch. And looking at this here, I'm pretty sure I'll have enough dough for all the layers of this casserole. And if you have any extra dough, don't throw it out. You can make some pierogies with it, and the dough will stay fresh in your refrigerator for up to 3 days if it's tightly wrapped. And I'm going to do this one like that, like that. Let's move this out of the way and start assembling the cipaille. Okay, so the bottom layer you're going to be using, or what I use, is really thick bacon. In the old days, I think they used some lardy, fatty pork or something, but you know what? I'm going with the good stuff. So, and this will prevent the bottom definitely from not burning, and the dough won't burn against the bottom here. So let's just, I'm even going to do the side here. I don't know if you can see that. Completely covering. And this, oh boy, this bacon cooking slow like this for 5 hours, whatever, it is going to be phenomenal. So let's line it like this. Okay, so now I'm going to do one layer of dough on top of this, leaving a little gap in between, like a finger. Sorry, not a good finger to use, is it? But you catch my drift. And like that, a little gap. This one is quite thick, that's fine. And let's go like that. So there's a gap in between each one. So now we're going to take my meat out, and last night what I did was I got a piece of saran wrap and punched down the meat so it was even a tighter seal. But now we're ready to do some assembly, and oh, this meat smells so good. So all I'm going to do is just get in here with my hands and spread out the mixture and try and do this evenly with all the meats in each layer. And it's looking pretty good. So back in the day, my mother-in-law, she used to make a roaster would be like twice, 3 times the size of this one, and to feed everybody at Christmas and that, and it was an amazing sight. She really knew how to cook. So let's do another layer. Let's kind of stretch it out. Anybody that has made cipaille before, the real traditional way, might be looking at this and saying, oh no, this is not how you do it. Well, you know what? It's my recipe, I'm doing it my way. So there's a gap in between, and we're going to be putting approximately a liter of chicken broth on top of this, and it's going to seep in between all the layers. So wow, we are going to have a mighty thick cipaille, or cipaille. I'm happy with that. So let's get the last layer ready. You know what? I want to use all my dough. So let's just do like that. Let's get the meat like that. Excellent. So now we are going to put on the top layer that we originally rolled out, and what you have to do is make a hole in the top like this, and that's where we're going to pour the juice in. And as we're checking it throughout the day, we'll see if there's juice in the hole here, and if not, we're going to pour some more chicken broth there. So I'm going to leave this like this, and we'll be back in a second. I'm going to go wash my hands. So here's the chicken broth that I'm using today, and you can go ahead and use whatever version you like that's low sodium, higher sodium, no name. This is what I'm using. So I'm going to crack this open and slowly pour it into the hole. So this is 900 milliliters, which is what? 4 cups? Almost 4 cups? So I'm just leaving this. Look, I'm just going to tip it and help it it's seeping in through the sides here, and eventually it'll work its way down to the bottom. Just before doing this step, I'm preheating the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's going to cook on the middle rack for 1 hour. After 1 hour, we're going to turn it down to a lower temperature, and it's going to cook for about 5 hours. Could be 6 hours. So this kind of thing, after 3 hours, you really got to keep an eye on it. So to make sure the dough isn't burning. And I'm going to give it a few taps. Just to help it work its way to the bottom, just like when you're making cabbage rolls. Just, give it a little tap, and we're done. I'm happy with this. If you ever, say you're making it at home with a bigger roaster, you ran out of chicken broth, you could just add a bit of water. Other people also like to use beef broth, but I'm going for chicken today. So let's pop this thing in the oven, and we'll be back later. Okay, so it has been 4 hours at 250 degrees, plus the original starting temperature of 400 degrees for 1 hour. And this is what the cipaille looks like. And just to be sure, the internal temperature is at 193 degrees. So I know without any doubt, this cipaille is ready for eating. So this is the last step, and yeah, so time to enjoy. So at long last, after a total of 4 hours of cooking in the oven on a high temperature for 1 hour and then 3 hours at a lower temperature, the cipaille is finally done. And here it is in all its glory with potatoes on the side. And I have to remark on that the original recipe calls for to put in cubed potatoes in with the meat, and I didn't see that it would fit, so I think it looks great on the side with some fresh garlic bread and a nice side of my spicy green beans. And if you haven't seen this video, please click on the link and go to that, and some dill pickles. And what meal wouldn't be complete with a glass of Chardonnay from France? So let's get into it and see what we have here. The pierogi dough is really nice and tender. Oh my God. Wow. Absolutely amazing. So let's try with a piece of potato. Wow. You really got to try this today. Try this soon while the weather is still cold. It is fantastic. Highly recommend it. So tasteful. The chicken, the pork tenderloin, the stewing beef, like, I'm speechless. Like, this is the best I've done, considering I haven't done this in many, many years. So I hope you've watched this long throughout the whole video and give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel and share it with all your friends and family, because this is a really hearty, beautiful, savory Quebec and maritime dish that I made for you today. Till the next one, have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.